Parenting Tuesday. It is today being Tuesday, the 12th of November. Welcome to Parenting Tuesday, where we shall be parenting and navigating the parenting journey together. Today, we're going to discuss about parenting a special needs child, which can be very challenging and as well as rewarding. We will be talking and discussing about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And with me in studio, I have a parent who has been able to go through this journey, raising a child who's going through this condition. And also with me is also an expert in matters psychology, and she will also be helping us understand better really what is it about this condition and how do you navigate it and what are the some of the challenges and how to handle them. So welcome to studio. I have Susan Mukwei, who is the parent of your daughter has an ADHD.
She has ADHD, okay. Right?
Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
And then Dr. Venus Chengo, the expert.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much, ladies, for being here. African ladies, as you can clearly see. And so, karibuni sana. And probably I'll just start with you, Daktari, just to help us understand, bring us to speed. What is it? What is ADHD?
ADHD, just from the word itself, is a condition that affects the brain, whereby a child's attention is not up to par. Okay. So you find that when it comes to concentration, anything that has to do with focus, there's a little bit of a lagging behind, so that this child is not able to focus very well when it comes to organization skills. You know, you can give them a task, they will not be able to, finish it. Yeah. Sometimes we also say that there's, can I say, a hyperactiveness, whereby you'll find even where there's a setup, a child is probably it's a school setup and people are presenting, the child will veer off to go and do other things. So normally there's a lot of hyperactive activity, and then when it comes to attention, it is lacking. So you find that they're not able to really focus on things very well. Yeah, so that's why we call it ADHD.
Susan, you're the parent here. Can you just tell us about your daughter first, her name? Just describe her to us.
My daughter, Sarita Mukami Wahome, such a loving young girl. She's 9 years old. And right now, we're just journeying on. It has been, let me say, a very, very helpful experience for me raising Sarita. When she was diagnosed with ADHD about when she was in grade 3, and when we first received the news and you don't know what to do, first you go to the to get the diagnosis, and then they give you this long diagnosis, right? And you're like, what? But she's a lovely girl. As we continue, we'll explain how we got to that point.
Actually, that's where I want us to probably now start from, this discussion in terms of how did you get to know, for you now to take her, for you to get the diagnosis, what prompted you to do that?
Right. Sarita was born a healthy child. The pregnancy was a smooth one, very healthy, good kgs at birth. Now, through her milestones, when she got at the age of, when she started crawling at the age of 6 months thereabout, we noticed she's super, super, super active. She would just move, and verbal also. She was, even she was not yet speaking, but she would just utter words. And as a mother, back in my head, I was like, oh, this girl is growing very fast. This is good. This is nice. Then when she got to the age of 2, now many people term it as terrible 2. But on my end, this terrible 2 didn't look like a normal terrible 2. But back in my head, I said, okay, each child has their own milestones. So each child, now for Sarita's case, she's active, she's jumpy, she's all over the place. That that's good for her. Let's continue. But back in my head, we used to discuss with the father. And one day I asked the father, do you think Sarita is okay? Then the dad said, yeah, she's okay. You can't compare her with our other children.
Every child
is unique in their own way.
Yeah.
So I was okay. So she reached the age of joining the school, nursery, PP1, PP2.
Yeah.
You know, with all those behaviors, it's normal, and I just brushed everything off.
Okay.
Then when she got, of course, graduated to grade 1, 2, 3, one day the class teacher calls me and she asked me, Mama Sarita, can we have a meeting? Then, is everything okay? Sarita? No. Come to school. We need to discuss Sarita.
Okay.
Yes. So I thought it's just academics or just normal discussion where you have your discussion with teacher, parent concerning your child. So when I reached school, Teacher Elizabeth asked me, and Mama Sarita, do you notice anything special? She used that word, special about Sarita. I told her, Sarita, she's a good girl. She's happy. She's jumpy.
She's a bubbly girl.
She's a bubbly girl. Yeah. I'm okay with that. She loves her swimming. She loves gymnastics. She loves singing. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Then she told me, I've observed Sarita, and there are some things that I've picked from Sarita which needs attention, and I would like you to go with her to KISE, Kenya Institute of Special Education.
Okay.
Then we discussed and we touched a bit of those behavioral changes.
Okay.
Inattentive, there was anger.
And a lot of energy.
A lot of energy, lack of concentration, a bit of bullying. Like,
she's the bully?
Yes, she's, she's in charge, And
probably at this point is where also I just want to bring in Daktari to also confirm, are these some of the, symptoms that, show or confirm that this is it, or is it also possible? What's the difference between this hyperactivity and autism?
Now, autism is on a different spectrum because it has to do with behavior as well.
Okay.
Concentration, interest. You find that a child who has autistic behavior does not show, can I say, the correct functionality, even in terms of social interactions. They tend to shy away, to show a lot of lack of interest. But in the case of ADHD, you'll find that the child is there, they want to be out there, they want to be seen, it's like that, they want to take the front line, and they will also want to have their way. So each of these disorders normally has, symptoms, and what she's actually describing, I've already ticked about 6 of those symptoms, because at the end of the day, that is what now brings in the clear cut.
Okay.
When you talk about when psychiatrists come to check, and assess different individuals, they normally, first of all, assess all the symptoms that are being manifested so that they can cluster them based on the disorder.
Okay.
Yes. So what she's describing actually just fits
on
that
point.
title. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's on point. Yeah.
And so I'm sure, Susan, you've been here with this child and your partner and the siblings. What has it been like for you in terms of, even the emotional bit of it? After now you're in school, you've been told, gotten for diagnosis, here she is. Of course, your reaction first was what? Was it denial? Was it, and then the impact?
First reaction was actually denial. Because when we got the diagnosis, we talked to the psychiatrist there, and then she also sent advice. We also see another psychiatrist at Kenyatta National Hospital, which took me some time. I was in denial, and I said, no, this is normal. Because clearly, if I don't tell you Sarita has ADHD, you will not recognize. You'll term her as a normal child, as just a bubbly girl. But now looking deeper into it and different behavioral changes, that's when you'll notice something is amiss. And yeah, I was in denial. And after some time just seeking help, like I read a lot. I read a lot of research about ADHD, how to deal with a child with ADHD. I read all the symptoms and they were all matching. And clearly and honestly speaking, I just started nurturing Sarita by myself. You know, we spoke with my spouse and we said, this is now what we are going to do. And then after now, that phase of denial and, you know, this is here. We have to face it. We have to handle it. No fear. We have to get in and help this girl.
So, Dr. This also, when you know, a child like now, Sarita, you're saying ADHD, you're bold, you're this and that. Are these the kids probably we see in the supermarket and like, mtoto ako na tabia mbaya sana? Are these the kids?
Yes. And that is why I'm very, you know, we are in an age where there's so much social bullying. There's so much, we have been given a platform to raise our voices, but unfortunately, we are not using those platforms very well. I always say before you judge someone, seek to understand where they're coming from. Don't just look at someone and label them. You know, because the other day someone shared a very interesting, you know, it was a school setup. I don't know if it was trending, but someone was, you know, a school was, it was kids. Small kids presenting, and then one kid just veered off.
Exactly.
And this guy was doing his own things. Like, he's there, but he's not. And he'll move as if no one is existing. And I remember someone posted and said, you know, this one has already been brought up we know and I was very quick to just tell them, you know, it's good for you to understand this is just not a normal child. This is a child that has special needs, and we like to call them special, but I believe that all of us, and I want to say this to anyone who's listening to me, there's no one who is perfect. No one other than God. And as psychologists, we say that each of us exhibits abnormal behavior. Did you know that even just the clicking when you get angry and you go like, that is clustered as an abnormal behavior. So you're there, you're dressed up in a suit and you think, I am the you know, we are saying, all of us, you know, I like, you know, the word of God because it's the constitution that I go by. And it says, for all of us have sinned and fallen short of your glory. So it means that all of us are at fault in one way or the other when it comes to the things of the heart, when it comes to even the psychological aspect, and when it comes to behavior. So what I want to say, Sally, is let us be very careful because you can imagine such a very beautiful girl who has potential, who the mother has taken time to accept the child and to bring her up very well, growing up and getting out of that care of the parents and moving now into a place, because all special children have a right to live a normal life like any other. So they go into institutions because that's another thing. Sometimes we have employees who employ individuals who have issues and they have not actually gone through the assessment. So I also say even HR policies should actually try and capture some of these disorders. We are not now talking about ADHD only. I'm talking about bipolar. I'm talking about obsessive compulsive disorder, because these are some of the things that create conflict in workplace organizations. So you can imagine now such an individual going into that space, and then every other day they're being judged. They're being made to look like they're at fault. That is the reason people wake up and throw themselves from the top of a building. That is how people sit down and Google how to die by suicide. Why? Because the world is not accepting them with their special needs. I want to say this. I was brought up by a special father. You know, he has been visually handicapped from the time I came into this earth. Okay? But one thing that I love about this man is that he taught me you can become anything you want to be. So it is out of the heart that the abundance flows to raise other people.
Absolutely.
Please let us try and not be judgmental.
Okay.
The only person, if I remember what the Bible says very well, who is and has the powers to judge is God.
Okay.
All of us are sinners, and all of us fall short
of the glory
of God.
I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. And I hope, you know, to my listeners and my viewers, you've actually gotten that, because it's very important, you know, and sometimes you find parents just keep, you know, they keep to themselves, and their children, they hide them because of that. So keep talking to me on the socials, on SMS line 20316-316 or WhatsApp number 0786-316-316. If you have any question, you can ask. The parent can answer, and even the expert is here to just clarify whatever question or burning issue you may have. And back to you, Sue. Here you are, of course, there's so many challenges raising this child, you know. What are some of the, we're talking about the emotional beat of it, you know, mental.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, or what are you feeling about it then? How is it like?
Right now?
Yeah, even when you know, in the journey, sometimes are you emotionally, you feel, no, this is too much, or, you know.
Yeah, now going through this journey, at some point I felt this is huge, this is big for me. But spiritually, I turned to God, and I asked God, please, just walk with us, walk with Sarita, walk with the siblings, walk with the entire family. Because also there was a challenge also with the siblings.
Okay.
So when I speak that I rested the case to God, honestly, it has been easy, and it was easy.
Okay.
And according to the Bible, you know, according to God's teachings, according to what we've been taught, according to what God has put in your heart, every challenge with Sarita was, you know, like, was just smooth.
Wow.
You know, when a behavior, an emotional or a tantrum is thrown, right away,
Grace to deal with
there's a grace that you deal with that.
Amen.
And when Sarita, you know, like, doctor will also approve this. ADHD child, they are blessed, very specially blessed by God. They will gauge your mind. They will want to hear what you have to answer.
Oh, really?
When they ask a question or when they behave in a certain manner. They will,
like, they test the waters or something?
They will test the waters. Because some of the behaviors that Sarita had, like when she was 5, when, you know, this is a growing child and different levels of growth, different environment.
Yeah.
You know, like what she used to do at 5 or 6 years, that stopped. You know, she would just, that's a symptom, she would just throw a tantrum and cry out of nowhere. And then even before we got the diagnosis, before the assessment, a typical mother, can you stop crying? Go to the naughty corner. And she would cry more. She would cry more. Lock her in the room now, that's a naughty corner. Cry. Then when you're done with crying, come out.
So all this
then
out of frustration or what?
Out of frustrations, and, you know, like, clearly there will not be even a reason for her crying.
So it pisses you off
then it pisses you off as a parent. Now a typical parent who does not know, who does not know what this child is going through.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, you'll punish, like the naughty corner and stuff like that. So that one changed along the journey. When we got the assessment, when
So
we
you knew
knew,
how to
now we
handle
knew
her.
how to. Then what I'm saying here, above all, God. You know, there's that grace. And then you will speak to her. You will even quote the Bible. And she'll, Mama, can I read the Bible?
Okay.
And then she would calm down. And she would just go about her activities and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it is amazing. And one thing...
And the emotional beat of for yourself has been good.
For myself.
At least there's hope. That's quite...
No, now
listeners,
for parents with special needs children and any other child, let's just put it, parents, take care of yourself. Also, go for counseling, go for therapy. You know, eat well, sleep well, because you cannot handle this child when you are stressed. They do not need stress around them. You can, those two, you are stressed, she or he is also stressed with their own things.
They're also trying to understand
They're also trying to, so the two can, you cannot help her.
I love what you've said.
I do as well.
It's so profound because, you know, life is about laws, whether we want to look at spiritual laws, whether we want to look at physical laws. There's always that governing law. And one thing that I have come to realize, you know, even in my journey of talking to people as a humanitarian, counseling people, you know, and doing all that, that has to do with the human mind. God is so powerful. He's so organized that with every fault, he increases something. So one thing that I know, where someone has a special need or whether someone has, you know, you're in that place where there's a disorder, there's normally a heightened sense. It's like putting someone on a scale and on one side you've put 49 and this side is 50. So that scale, you know, so what God does, he adds 51 on this other side. So you'll find that in as much as what you're saying, you know, she has this thing of like she can gauge the intelligence, she wants to know, you know, and I see this a lot, you know, whereby you see, even when you talk about physical disability, someone who probably does not have eyesight, their sense of hearing. So we want to say we are never missing anything. We are never lacking. This one that God has just slightly reduced, he gives an ability. And it is our work as parents, as therapists, as experts, to now capture the one that is of use, the one that is of impact. You know, I've seen people play piano, people sing, they have conditions, you know, but you're like, you know, that is where I say, that is where God is glorified. Because it is out of the ordinary. We did not expect this, you know. So we should learn to give thanks in everything. Because it is all in the will of God.
Indeed. And so that, Terry, when you know, you speak about the emotional bit of it, I'm sure, do men and women handle such a situation differently? And what are some of the things that they can do? She's mentioned some, like go for counseling and all that. What other things can someone do? You know, parents of a special child, what other things can they do?
Okay, so I love that question because we are, you know, as when it comes to genders, we handle things differently. I always love to put it out there that as women, we think with our hearts. So we are more emotional. And we look at things and react to them instantly because we connect. We are nurturers. We incubate children. So God gave us that, can I say, muscle, emotional muscle, even though sometimes we also fail because if one does not work on themselves, you find that you end up now, you know, going on the negative side, and that is looking down upon yourself, seeing yourself as if you're not, you don't surface in terms of taking care of an issue, whether it has to do with marriage, whether it has to do with the parenting and all that. But when you look at the male gender, they tend to be more of logical thinkers. So a man will always think of, you know, because they're born leaders, you know, so and they're born providers, even though nowadays things have changed because with every other, can I say, generation, there's evolution happening, right from the time we were created. So a woman will tend to look at this child and see what they can do to make them feel better, to make, and as she's projecting to the child, she's also, the goal is to also make herself feel better. That's why sometimes you'll find that a woman will easily break down alongside her child, and then the husband will go like, now between you and who is, you know. So the man looks at it differently in terms of what system can we implement in terms of working with the child. And I love it that, you know, when she asked, in her story, I want to just refer to her story, she's the one who noticed the behavior. The husband did not. And it is because she's a nurturer. She incubates. She has, you know, tell a woman about their child, they'll tell, this is not my child. Because they are the ones who bring up these children. And there was like, no, but if we are going to tick boxes, they're okay. they go to school, they bath, they, you know. So for him, it's like, is the system running? Yes. But she's noticing the collapse in the system. This system is hanging at some point, or this system is overheating. So for them, they are more system-oriented, and they look at solutions, possible and logical-oriented solutions. What can we do in this at this point in time to make sure that this child is, you know. So sometimes the hitch here is the man may not be really there emotionally to support her.
Right.
She may feel it may be misinterpreted, because she may feel like, oh, when I'm low and I'm, you know, and I'm really bringing up the issue of this child, the man is not coming around to now back her up.
But that's not the case.
But that's not the case. We really need, knowledge is power, Sally. I will emphasize and keep emphasizing. And that's why I tell people, keep on investing in knowledge. And one person said, if you want to hide the wisest or the wisdom, put it in books, because people nowadays don't read. We just want to Google. But the real, you know, people, someone who takes time to write a book, they are coming from a place of research. They're coming from a place of also experience. And experience is the best teacher. So when you're able to understand your spouse, when you're able to understand your child, because that is what makes the nuclear family. It is very, very easy, Sally, to carry any load. Do you know just having a special child can break up a family?
Oh, yeah.
Because a woman will feel like, my husband does not understand me, and then the husband will go like, even this woman is overreacting. So out of that, conflict, you know, distance starts, you know, and before you know it, people have gone separate ways, and the man will have a reason, a very valid reason as to why he can easily say that, oh, the woman is giving attention, which is true. Sometimes the woman now literally takes up this child. So that thing we talked about, balance, God is a God of balance. We need to try and strike a balance. The way we are taking care of this child, and also the way we are dealing with one another. We must understand one another. The man ought to understand the woman. The woman ought to understand the man. And then together, from that place of understanding, that unified front, because God wants us to work as one. I own a rehab. I will tell you, majority of the young people who come to that rehab, or the ones I have even handled in other rehabs in my practicum years, come from broken homes. So when God is talking about unity, he wants us to handle issues together as one. Two is always better than one. She's bringing her idea from the emotional. Why don't we try and take her out there? Why don't we, you know? And the man is saying, okay, fine. I'm going to work a little bit extra so that we have extra to do that which is required, because special needs children come with special expenses. You understand? So we need to, you cannot give what you do not have. Let us strive first to understand what God requires of us and what we need to know about each other.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And I'll bring you in, Susan, now. Just with the siblings now, with Sarita's siblings, has her condition had any impact on them? And how do they support her in their own ways as their siblings? Because I'm sure you treat her as a special, you know, the way she's a last born, or?
Yes, she's the last
you see, so of course there's that first, the last born, then a special. So what impact has it had on her siblings and the support they also give her?
I have another child, which we sat down and I explained to her. And she's good and she knows how to handle Sarita. Now, problem comes in, I have a 12-year-old. The 12-year-old, we have not sat him down and explained Sarita is special or Sarita has ADHD. Reason being, I really wanted Amia to just, you know, like, just see Sarita as just a normal sister, you know? And I don't know, Daktari, you'll advise on that. I don't know if at this age he would even understand mental issues or mental disorders or ADHD in itself. So for him, Amia, okay, it has been easy with Amia. Amia is calm.
This
He's
one is your
just
second
got-
child?
My second
How
child.
old?
He's 12-year-old.
Okay.
So he's calm. He handles her well.
Okay.
You know. Now we have a grandchild who's
Okay.
5-year-old, 5 years old, right? Now, Sarita and this, you know, like, I'll go back. It's been God's grace.
Yeah.
You know, like how God just connects and how God beautifies the situation, right? Now, the 5-year-old, they are buddies. You know, they connect so well.
Doesn't understand.
Doesn't
care.
understand. And now Sarita is in that element
Yeah.
of this 5-year-old. So they play games together. They do all the stuff together. So no conflict
Okay.
between the two of them.
Okay.
And I know it's been amazing.
Okay.
So I would say with the siblings,
Yes.
it's okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daktari, so this child goes to school, and of course at home she gets a lot of support. But what kind of support can a school offer such a special child?
I want to say this, and I'm happy about the Constitution. I'm happy about, you know, the legality that surrounds special needs children. Every child, whether special or normal, is entitled to education. All right, and back to her story. I'm happy that the teacher was able to capture.
Yes,
it shows this teacher went through the right training.
Right.
Because during those years when people are in campus and they're trying to, you know, they're taught on how to capture special children. And she followed due process to call the parent and also interrogate her. And other than that, she was even told to go to a psychiatrist. She went to, I think, you mentioned about two psychiatrists.
Yeah.
And that was just the process of verifying that what the teacher had raised as concern is not, you know, just out of the blues. It's not imagined. And once that was done, I believe your daughter is still in the same school. So what happens is we find that the teachers, normally we have different categories of schools. There are those who handle specifically just special children. But an ADHD child can actually go through the normal school. As long as the teacher is aware. Yes.
Because we need to go for a very short break, but I love that bit. I love the way you've explained about the teacher and that connection with a child and the training. But before we continue, because this is so, you know, and I can see a lot of comments coming in. So I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers are really, really listening in and watching. I'm going to go to Daktari, kuna maswali kadhaa hapa for you. Now, there's a lady called Lynette from Nairobi, and Lynette says, oh, so glad you're focusing on ADHD. I have, and so the challenge is having it and being a parent. I ask, how could I identify if my son has it? That's the first question. And then she says, I love the mention of the expert of workplace. I would love to speak with her. It's not easy for me. So definitely this is someone who needs a lot of support and advice from you. Probably just you know, respond to her.
So thank you so much, Lynette, for that question. And allow me to just first of all respond to your number one concern, and that is about her son.
Yes.
Your son. And what I want to say is that, you know, sometimes we read and we hear.
Yes.
And then we imagine that I am in that place. Never diagnose yourself. Never diagnose your children. Why? Because you are not an expert. So my very basic advice to Lynette is, please book an appointment with a psychiatrist. Take your child with you. Let them go and assess that child, and they'll be able to tell you. Yes, they'll be able to tell you, because there are questions she'll be asked. The expert will be able to assess the child. There are so many forms of therapy we use, you know, play therapy, whatever, to try and find out if this child truly has that condition. So once that is done, then the verdict will be given. But let her not be very quick to say that, to label the child that because maybe they are very hyperactive or they lack the attention.
I think she's saying that because she says she has ADHD.
Oh, she has.
Yeah.
She
says I have, and so the challenge is having it and being a parent. You know, so she's suspecting, is it a genetic? Probably. I'm just thinking probably.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's asking because she has. Is it possible? But you've already answered her. And I can also see another question, Doc, before we go back to the convo, that someone's saying, "Good morning, Sally and our guest. I would like to ask Daktari, what signs should a parent look for at the initial stages of the condition? Most people in Africa set up links every condition to witchcraft. What advice does Daktari have to this?"
I love that question. You know, we always say when we are understanding people, one of the approaches that we have is the cultural or multicultural perspective, whereby we are able to look at where this person is coming from. We all have different ways of handling things. And unfortunately or fortunately for us, I don't know whether to say it is good, we have this mindset of everything is witchcraft. Everything is witchcraft. No, my life was going on well until now I started going broke. And maybe my friend out there is, you know, so you and it is lack of planning. You're not even introspecting, you're not even looking at how things have been going. You're not even aware that even your children are growing and the demands are, you know, but now you've quickly gone to say that you're bewitched. Let us not be quick also to embrace, even as much as, yes, these things do exist. See, I believe they are because we see them. But let us not be very quick to also adapt. Whatever you give attention to will grow.
Sure.
So if you want to go the witchcraft way, you have already invited the witch doctor. And because, you know, by just, you know, it's like I'm poking her, and she's not looking at me. At some point I will give up because I'm like, this one hana shughuli na mimi. You see, but if I poke her the first time and she looks at me, there we go. Now I can insult her, I can do anything. So let us not be very quick to embrace this issue of witchcraft and whatever. What I know, and according to the constitution I abide by, God has never failed. And the word of God is very, you know, profound, that no weapon forged against us shall ever prosper. So I believe that in as much as we want to look at it in that way, we need to now go to the next level of our mindset and now look at things from a realistic perspective. And when I talk about realistic perspective, I'm talking about science. I'm talking about symptoms. I'm talking about what is being manifested. There's what, yes, you'd say there was bewitchment because probably there's so much absurdness going on. But when it comes to things like ADHD, let us not label them as witchcraft and all that issues. Okay. One of the things that I said is that there's carelessness in the child. Look for carelessness. Look for a lack of attention. Look for mood disorder. She talked about, she said, at one point, she's just there with tantrums. And you're wondering, we were okay. What happened? You see, look for organization skills, whereby a child is not, you know, interested therein, or, you know, though we also see, you know, there are conditions that come from other conditions. For example, there's something called OCD. Obsessive compulsive disorder. I have it. And I had to try and consciously undo it. Why? OCD is where you are so obsessed with having things in an organized way. So if I'm a parent who has OCD, if my child is disorganized,
it frustrates
and I want
you?
and I want to become like the doctor, the psychiatrist, I misdiagnose my child as having ADHD.
Because,
There's what we call bipolar. What is bipolar? Bipolar is an influx of mood. So we have the manic and we have the mania. When the child is on a low, they're very depressed. And people who have bipolar also, when they grow up, they tend to have issues even with drugs and all that because they're trying to stabilize their mood. They're trying, you know, so there's so much going on. So it is very easy for someone to also misdiagnose a child when they're in that space of having just tantrums. But she was okay. And now you're on a high, you're crying, you're everywhere, you're misbehaving. So what I want to say is that when it comes to this thing of witchcraft, attention, concentration, mood, organization skills, look out for careless behavior. You know, those are the things, and people can even go out and there's so much data out there about me. But those 5 must be there for you to say that a child truly has ADHD.
I love that. I love that. Mama Sarita,
Yes.
what are some of the lessons that probably because, you know, we learn every day, and I'm sure even with this child, you must have learned something from her. As much as she's learning from you, what are some of the lessons that also you've learned from her?
From Sarita, I have learned to be patient. I was never patient. With such a child, you know, you don't know what awaits you. And you really have to be prepared how to handle each situation at a different time and how it's been executed at you, right? Now, before going back, before we learned about ADHD, you know, you would just, a normal parent, angry, you know, punishment, you are not happy, you know, how is this child? So it depresses you at some point.
Okay.
So learning along the journey, the major lesson for me has been patience.
Yes.
And loving more, embracing the situation, embracing the Sarita. And, you know, the journey with Sarita also has taught me, you know, to be mindful.
Okay.
Even with my surroundings, with people around me, with other children around me, with, you know, even at my workplace. It has really taught me how to be mindful.
Awesome. So there's patience, there's also being mindful, and also more loving.
And more loving.
Yeah.
And embracing a situation. And once you embrace a situation, you really can handle it easily.
And because of time, because we have like probably 4 or less minutes, Daktari, what would be your advice to even a new parent, probably like even the lady Lynette, what's your advice to them who are now just realizing that we have this, you know, issue at hand? What's your advice to them, very briefly?
I want to put this in 3 parts. And number 1, I want to start with connection with what matters and who matters.
Okay.
You did not create yourself. You came from a source.
Yes.
And even this child was carefully planned by that source. So connect to God.
Okay.
He is all you need first, because he knows the number of hairs on your head. He knows why he gave you that child.
Yes.
The Bible says, to whom much is given, much is expected. Nothing, I believe with all my heart, nothing is a coincidence. You're given what you can handle. And if God entrusted you with this child, trust God with that child. I have seen many parents get breakthrough by just trusting God with this gift that God has given to them, even though they deem that gift as extra special.
Right.
Number 2, connect with yourself. What do I mean by that? You can only give what you have. Okay? And awareness of who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, will be able to kind of like help you know what to project at any one time. For example, she talked about impatience. She had to first connect with herself and realize, as a person, she is impatient. But this child came to teach her what? To be patient. So you must first connect with yourself by trying to ask God, what are you teaching me about this child? Because that is how God sometimes operates. He wants to elevate or change you by giving you focus on this special child. And the 3rd one is connect with support systems that understand you. But bottom line, Sally, accept. Accept. I like using these 3 things. Accept, adjust, and when you adjust, for sure you will advance in life.
The 3 A's. I love how you finished. Daktari has finished the 3 A's. And very briefly, your advice to parents who are going through in the same situation as you are. Very briefly.
Parents, do not shy away. as Dr. said, accept. Once you accept, you'll advance.
Okay.
And everything else will flow.
Fantastic. Accept. So to my dear listeners and viewers, the 3 A's, I really wish we had a longer time, Dr. and Sue, but you know, time is not on our side. So we're coming to the end of the show. Thank you so much for your questions, your comments. We really do appreciate your time with us here in this show. And you know, we'll always be here to answer such questions with such experts and such parents on Parenting Tuesdays. Thank you so much to our partners. This program cannot end without me mentioning and appreciating our partners who've been very supportive, who've been holding our hands just to ensure that this program, this show runs every single week. So if you want to be part of this show or part of this program, to be a partner, send the word partner to 20316 or 0786 316 316, or even if you want to be a blessing to us in whatever way, send whatever God may bless you with or is blessing you with to our pay bill number 316, and the account name should be your phone number. Thank you so much. Join me again tomorrow on Money Matters Financial Clinic, where we shall be discussing about where do you want to invest your money. God bless you and have an amazing day.